Hey, Steve Basic Architect. Yeah, we're out here at our offsite build project. We got a lot of really cool things happening. I'm gonna shoot a bunch of videos today, but we're gonna start with windows. So we took our window delivery. The install has started. These are a UPVC, unplasticized PVC window. They are made by Schuco. Now, one of the things to understand is Schuco is not the window manufacturer for these windows. Schuco makes all of the window components. Saint-Gobain makes the IGU. The IGU stands for Insulated Glazing Unit. And that's basically the sealed, gas-filled, in this case here, I believe they're argon, and they're triple glazed unit, and they come sealed. They get shipped to a fabricator, and the fabricator acquires all of the Schuco components. And you know, Schuco's really good about, they have their own screws, their own brackets, everything about these windows are Schuco components except for that IGU. So they build the frame, then they set the IGU in it, and then basically seal it up, and then obviously we get a window out of the deal, right? So the window is made up of that insulated glazing unit, that's the glass piece that you see, and then basically the frame, and in some cases where we have an operable window, and I can shoot a video where we talk about the different pieces, but when you have an operable window, we obviously would have a frame and a sash. The sash is the operable piece that moves in there. So all of these windows here, you can see, they're acquired from European Architectural Supply. Those are my good friends out here. I do a lot of European windows through them for our projects. I can get these UPVC obviously, but we can also get these in an aluminum clad, and they're available upwards of, I don't know, 250 colors or so. And if you've seen some of the previous videos where we just recently did a project out in the Midwest where we did macro in windows. So it's the same Saint-Gobain IGU, except that the frame is a wood frame and it has an aluminum cladding. And then the wood, you get to select whatever species of wood that you want to pick and get that look from the inside. So you can go check out some of those. But anyways, why don't we head inside and we'll pick up some of the windows, and we could talk about the install and talk about their operation and such. So I'll see you on the inside. All right, so we're just outside. You see windows come on a pallet. European Architectural Supply gets them to our front door. Now we have to install them. And you know, the installation process, it might seem a little tedious, but you know, water being the #1 killer of buildings, and windows are probably one of the places where the highest risk of, say, a building science failure that could occur in your house is probably gonna, could occur at the window. It is definitely one of the highest risks. So it's the most tedious, but the amount of work you have to do is proportional to the risk that is at hand, right? So first off, we have our zip panel. I just grabbed a piece of it here. So that's the 7/16 inch zip. It's got an integrated weather resistant barrier, and it's got 1.5 inches of polyiso. Zip R9. So obviously it's worth the R9. The things about the Zip R panel is that it has very susceptible edges here, right? So we can't just leave that and allow that to accumulate any water or leave this as an untreated edge. So we have a beautiful weather resistant barrier on the outside, but somehow we need to maintain continuity and bring that into the window opening. So you'll see here, we do just that. We have our Zip R9 on the outside, and you can see it there too. And we line all of the window openings here with our 7/16. So remember back in the day of house wrap, right? You'd cut the house wrap and you folded it in. Well, all we're doing here is we're cutting the zip and we're basically folding it in. Now, this isn't going to be an exposed edge. We'll go look at some. Some of them have already been taped on the house, and we'll go see some of those. But you can see it on the top there, where the top has already been covered, and then that'll get continued down through the system. But then that tape is now protecting the edges that are at the highest risk. But more importantly, I bring that weather-resistant barrier and I turn the corner. So I don't see the edge of that Zip R9 anymore, as well as now I have a good nail base to nail things into, to screw things into, etc. And that's done on the three sides, the jambs and the head. But on the sill, I tend to do something a little differently. We have our framing sill down below, and you can see there's two here. The reason for that is the top one I call the rip sill, or in this case, with the 2x6 and Zip R9, it falls to almost the 7¼ inch dimension, so we could simply just use a 2x8 here. Now I know some of you out there are going to look at this and say, but Steve, you're putting in a thermal bridge and you know all of the things where we have Zip R9. Yes, I am, and I'm doing that knowingly because the thing that trumps energy efficiency is durability, right? Because one of my favorite comments is, if it don't last, it don't matter. So we have to build a good house and build it right, but we have to build a good house first. And so part of that concept, or way of thinking is, I put this rip sill in. Now, what the rip sill does is, it gives me a full 1.5 inch face here that I can nail a sill material to, and it gives me the full extension along the sill here to develop my drain pan and all of the other things that I'm going to do here, and it brings that out flush. You can see there on the window where the Zip R9 stops, and then the rip sill is flush out to the face of that Zip R9. Now, that basically sets up the rough opening for all of the components that I will now put in to help develop the drain pan and all of the water mitigation components for the window install. So the first of which, on top of the rip sill, is the back dam. So we install the back dam here. And basically what that does is, you can see it does just that. If there's any water in this system, after this gets flashed, we have a dam. It can't get blown in. And what we're trying to battle against is getting that water to come in and see the backside of the drywall, because the drywall will soak it up like a sponge. It has a cellulose-based paper face that will turn it into an old farm, right? So we're trying to develop that back dam. So we do just that. We develop the back dam, but notice that this is a flat surface. So I really like to move water and move water down and out, or basically away from the system. So if I have a back dam here, the logic would suggest that I want the water to come down and go out, but I need a motivator for the out. So what we're using here is, we're basically just using a piece of lap siding, and it doesn't have to be treated in any way because it's going to get covered up by the flashing. And then this basically sits inside just like that. So now I still have that back dam here, and I have a sloped surface that takes me out to a fully nailable surface on the outside there. So that is all of the components for the prep of our water management system. We can jump over to one of the windows there, and we'll shoot another video where we talk about flashing the window and actually installing the window. The homeowner actually has quite the cool setup for how these windows, he's installing them out here. So anyways, I'm Steve Basic Architect. We're talking window installation. We're at the Offsite build project. Until next time, long live our builders.